A very good morning. Sayishayela Nsimbi Sithupha lo mhla ekuseni sanamukela sanisela futhi lo mhla ehlelweni Kusile Breakfast Show. Thank you for joining us this morning. Ngikukhumbuza ukuthi you can watch this episode of Kusile Breakfast Show on our YouTube page Eswatini TV. Kanjalo na DSTV we are on channel 286. My name is Lungelele Makakula. A very good morning and welcome. Mnguni, how are you this morning?
Doing very well, Lulu. Feeling very blessed to wake up yet again today. For me, that's always the first thing that I think about ekseni, being amongst the first people to wake up lapha eveni. Kuyakunika lo ukuthi uthathe nje lithuba reflect how sihamba emgwaqweni kude ngishona lenye imoto lekhona la mgwaqweni. Everyone's asleep and you are up and they will also wake up, and it's just the prayer of being alive, for good health, and just to be grateful to God, because you can't take that for granted.
We are here by the grace of God. We are on the 7th day of May. Umnyaka wakho usahambela kahle tonke tifiso takho lobofisa kutenda eminyakeni wa 2024 tisahamba ngendlela.
Lama resolutions we hope everyone's still sticking to their resolution. It's not too late though. It's just the first third of the year. It's the first quarter of the year. Let's Pela. So we've just officially started the second quarter of the year. You can still start your New Year resolution. You still have at least 9 months to pursue them and hope that you achieve what it is that you want to achieve. But anyway, welcome to the show yet again. Today we want to focus on menstrual health equity and advocacy against stigma. I will talk to Puleng Sitebe. She is the project coordinator of this particular project under Days for Girls Eswatini. I'm just wondering, Lulu, when we discuss such issues, which have been prevailing issues for a very long time now, particularly menstrual health equity and advocacy against stigma in Eswatini, it has been, sort of swept under the carpet for a long time while we advocate for a lot of the most pressing issues. This is one of the issues that hasn't gotten that spotlight that it deserves. And, as a woman yourself, I'm sure you know all the challenges that come with all these things, the stigma, even the challenges that you face as a person. And there is, remotely, there's something called period poverty that should be addressed as well, which has become quite an issue. But I will talk to Puleng Sitebe. She's the project coordinator for Days for Girls Eswatini, and Lindy Wedladla, the director of Days for Girls Eswatini. We want to discuss the commitment to addressing menstrual health challenges as well as combating stigma. Days for Girls Eswatini has an approach to health education, the creation of reusable sanitary pads, advocacy efforts, impact stories, which is important, future initiatives, and ways individuals as well as organizations can support the mission of supporting girls as they go through this very, very, very important thing. We'll also touch on cultural taboos, because we have seen that akhona lawo mathabula akhona labanga ukuthi sinendlela yethu yokucabanga which has become primitive, and we want to engage bobabe in menstrual health education as well and address period poverty as well as gender-based violence. Kunenzaba ke lenkulu nayo ekuthenini government recognition and policy advocacy plays an important role in addressing these issues as well as promoting period positivity through initiatives lefana ne-period positivity. It's an initiative to address period poverty. So stay tuned for an enlightening conversation ahead with Puleng Sitebe and Magedlala later on the program.
Lamhla vele ehlelweni sizabe sibuketona nje tindzaba tetempilo njengoba nje nami I'll be joined by someone from the Ministry of Health noma ke inhlangano lesemidisana nelitiko letempilo. Sikhuluma nje nge-male circumcision. Dokumele ukuthi in 2008 Eswatini developed the policy on safe male circumcision for HIV prevention and the strategy and implementation plan for scaling up safe male circumcision for HIV prevention in 2009 to 2013. The main objective here was to provide male circumcision services to 144,000 HIV negative 15 to 24-year-old males during this period. Sitobeke sina Manxoba Shongo wenhlangano iJPIGO lewinhlangano nje lebambisene ne-Ministry of Health kuchuba lolu hlelo, just to get an update on the progress on scaling up voluntary medical and male circumcision. Since 2008 to date, how many males have been circumcised lapha eveni? According to inhlangano kaMhlaba WHO, voluntary medical male circumcision is an effective intervention that reduces the risk of HIV acquisition among men. Sifuna ukuva ukuthi kwendeka lokhu by how many percent lapha eveni. We'll also be joined by the scholarship manager at the Ministry of Labour and Social Security, Sethu Bembe, to talk about the opening of scholarships emnyakeni wa 2024. Sifuna ukuva njengama processes that students need to follow and also address concerns nema challenges labhekene nebafundi. They'll be joining me after 7 this morning. Kungmanje sibuke nadile thamba imbili kumaphephandaba. All right, your leading headlines on the Times of Eswatini. Minister Neil declines with 3.6 billion Amalangeni dam breakdown documents. Says tendering process could be jeopardized should senators accidentally leak documents. Senate President appreciates explanation as senators represent people from different fields. More on that story on page 2. In other news, 32 pupils for KwaZulu World Carnival. Kanti kulanyele hamba imbili warning on syndicate harvesting body parts. Kanti kulenyele hamba imbili poison laced yogurt. A businesswoman is wanted by cops, and UNESCO syndicate targets owing students.
And these are the leading headlines. Times of Eswatini Sports section today. In an unexpected move, Letitia is set to retire. Shining match official set to pull plug on illustrious career at the end of the season. She is FIFA accredited. Her name is Letitia Vienna, and she is set to retire at the end of the season. Bafakile lapha i-profile yakhe, which shows indeed that it has been an illustrious career for Letitia. Ten Hag prefers United over Bayern. Eric Ten Hag's preference is to continue at Manchester United next season. This is despite Bayern Munich making contact with him about their vacant manager's position. These sources told ESPN. Bull coach Derby comments irk Mamba. The outcome of the games was ruined, according to Chief Executive Officer Mandla Sibia. He is the CEO of Green Mamba. Palace thresh Manchester United 4-0. Let me repeat that one. Crystal Palace thresh Manchester United 4-0. So that's 4 goals that Crystal Palace scored. And Manchester United were unable to score a single goal in 90 minutes. One more time. Crystal Palace thrashed Manchester United 4-0. Moist to leave West Ham at the end of the season.
That's who we are emphasizing. All right, moving on to the Eswatini Observer. Your leading headlines: groundbreaking. Good Shepherd performs life-changing surgeries. Invited UK doctors to conduct procedures on 4 children with disabilities. Children's hands and feet lengthened, straightened by team of doctors.
Wow.
UK doctor says it's about helping children with disabilities. Anzilenyela hamba imbili burnt Komintaba mob justice victim dies, and 2 SA men assault cops, they resist arrest.
Eswatini Observer Sports making the leading story. Green Mamba leaves everything in God's hands. We need a miracle. That's according to coach Ernest Mavuso, who admits it will be very difficult to defend the title. Swallows have opened a 5-point gap at the top. He says that they will not stop believing until the end. Good optimism there from Green Mamba head coach Ernest Mavuso, but things are looking bleak, really. On another one, we've made exceptional progress. This is according to Nsingizini Hotspurs director Derek Shiba, who is proud of his team's historic 2-1 victory over defending champions Green Mamba in the Premier League this past weekend. He says that the win marked a significant milestone for the Shiselweni-based side that have made outstanding progress. Kulenyeke indzaba Letitia is set to retire. Kanti ke iyekugcina but ke kungathi babe sebakhohlwa lokuyiprinta indzaba baka-observa ngiyo yona le Crystal Palace leshaya Manchester United 4-0.
Nasibuka lethamba embili kwe-Eswatini Daily News. The Prime Minister jets out to Kenya for Africa Fertilizer and Soil Health Summit. Minister uhambeke through HMK International Airport. Kulenyele hamba embili, HRH Princess Sikhanyiso makes top stylish royals list globally. And scholarship galore as ministry announces 40 scholarships from Morocco and Serbia.
Indzaba temidlalo, the biggest story after 17 years, Letitia's final whistle. Eswatini's female FIFA-accredited referee Letitia Viana is set to retire at the end of the current 2023-2024 season, and this is after serving the game for 17 years. Kanyagwezwe is linked with Green Mamba. Is another story there. I would say you should go and read the full story, as that's the only detail they've put up there. Manchester United, Ten Hag expects Fernandes to stay next season. I wonder if Ten Hag will stay himself or he's going to be taken home, especially after losing to Crystal Palace.
Ngasikhona lolwa naye. Anyway, let's take a break. Start with anything about the Swati.
Kuthuthuka kwembango, kuthuthuka kwetinkhundla. Kuthuthuka kwetinkhundla yintuthuko yelive lonke. Thokotela luhlelo sive siyathuthuka nasikulethela intuthuko emimangweni njalo ngabo lesithathu nase ishaye yagabanca insimbi yesithupha kusihlwa. Sive siyathuthuka.
Asifunza sinamukele nati tindzaba. Mhlonishwa Mvunankulu usuke kuleli itolo ekseni walibhekisa edolobheni leNairobi eveni leKenya lapho ayomelela khona silo emhlanganweni wabaholi bemave nabohulumende base-Afrika, emhlanganweni wokubuka tindzaba tekusebenziswa kwabomanyolo nekuphila kwemhlaba.
Ngenyanga ya June ngeminyaka wa 2006 baholi bemave nabohulumende base-Afrika basishicilela zivumelwano sase-Abuja lekuthiwa ke i-Abuja Declaration lesigcileke kuthuthukisa lizinga lekusebenziswa kwamanyolo e-Afrika ngenhloso yokuthuthukisa lizinga lemhlabathi e-Afrika kudeke live le-Afrika takhona ukuthuthukisa ihlangothi lotekulima likhona ukukhicita kudla lokwenele nekuthuthukisa imimango ikakhulukazi leyo lesemakhaya. Kulomhlangano ke baholi bataphinze babuka ke netindlela tekuthola ke imali tekuthuthukisa kusebenziswa kwamanyolo eAfrika ngaphansi kwehlelo lekuthiwa i-African Fertilizer Financing Mechanism.
The Minister of Agriculture in Nairobi, Kenya. Last year I attended on Fertilizer and Soil Health Summit. Lo siyokhuluma ngato tindzaba daba manyolo nempilo yemhlaba. Lokumqoka kakhulu kwendeni ukuthi sive livekati leAfrika libe nokudla lokwane siyake ngokuthunywa ngwenyama siyomelela yona as a head of state umhlangano lona webaholi bemave. So ke sihamba na Minister of Agriculture njengoba ke bakhuluma ngobungcweti batodona kulima nekunakekela umhlaba.
Inhloso ke lenkulu yalomhlangano kuhlanganisa bonke labathinzekako etindzabeni tekulima eAfrika kuthi ke babenzawonye babukeke kumcoka bekusebenziswa kwamanyolo kude imimango le kuphila kwayo kugcile kakhulu kutekulima kutakuthuthuka. Baholi bataphinzeke babuke nanaluhlelo lekuthiwa ke Africa Fertilizer and Soil Health Action Plan kuthi ke lingasebenzwa njani kuleli vekati lase-Afrika. Umbiko uhlanganiswe ngiLington Gule ngise-KM3.
La cwebetelako wavuna insimu yebukhosi imfabamfu kulamalanga lokho kulandzela ukuthi ingonyama ayibusise ukuthi sale kucala kuvunwa kwalensimu yebukhosi. Umsebenzi lohlanganisa emakhulukhulu ala cwebetelako uchubeka kahle.
Ensimini yebukhosi emfabantu yamajaha aphumeke ebuningi bawo emsebentini wakangwani wekuvuna lensimu yebukhosi leyatiwa ngekubabanti. Akusinala-ke nalonyaka njengoba na kudlaliselwa kwaphuma nako yamajaha kusukela ingonyama ibusise ukuthi aqale kuvuna kuhle sibili futhi kujinge kube sifakazelo senala letawuphuma nalonyaka. Nawo njeke emajaha awubambe ngeluthando nangekutimisela lokukhulu lo msebenzi wemakhosi. Uma emajaha ahlehla kangwani kungaba ukuthi ahlakula noma ayavuna njengoba eyavuna nje kulamalanga kunemhambo lothite lanyathela ngawo. Akusho nje ukuthi avele angene ensimini kodwa aphuma ngekuhleleka lokusecophelweni leliphakeme etigodlweni kuseluvivi njengoba yachaza umbutho lomkhulu umthwalo.
Yakhala licilo ngekuseni ugezwe nga4 lekithi ngeshaka lobamba likhale nga5 libuyisele sewele sitohlangana nenkhabave sifike sisethinjobo uphekwe kuphume elijingi sidle njengoba inkosi yangwani ipheka sicethe ke mhlambe kudla bese kukhala emacilo ngeke yongena esimini sekuyawukhalala ugaba ke maswathi lamahle ensimini nasingena ke ensimini kunengi maswathi lamahle lenikufundzako siyatfunza ingoma tebutimba njengoba sekuqala kushot court siyatfunza lamfa abantu sifunze nemikosho kuleso sigaba njengoba nibona nje maswathi lamahle nemsindo mhlawumbe nuva labanemikhwa bona kubo kukhala ugaba bayajuba kanzi laba mimeta ngemuva bathi moto ngilaba labade emikhwa bathathe etandleni tala labanemikhwa bamikise la ku stage khona stage ke siyavulwa la khathi ensimini kube ngilakafe khona kutholakala lobophako abophe maswathi lamahle bese kuyahamba kudla kwangwani kuyesteni singenileke la khathi ensimini sisinase siphuma phinze sikwethwale enhlokweni lokudla sihambe sokwethula enyangweni lengekhathi sigodlweni engabezweni sisingaqedza kwethula bese sihamba semkunjini ke kuningi maswathi lamahle ningafike nikufunze itafike nifunze mhlawumbe kugubha ngoba kufike kugujwe emkunjini umokolo lugubhu bese kuyehlukana sekuyiwa ithonqeni ngekwehlukana kwato kunenkhanyeti kunenyathi kunemkadlela kufike nakhona ethonqeni kuningi longakufunza uliswathi lakithi la Eswatini la utafike khona ufunze ukuqhuba kwetiga nekujujwa kwetiga bese ke sekuba kuqitha kwememo welanga.
Tindvuna tinemsebenzi lomkhulu ekwenta siciniseko ukuthi umsebenzi uqhubeka ngekuhleleka lokufanele. Indvuna afinyeza mncane ithi lokufaka emajaha umdlandla luthando lwawo ngemakhosi nangamasiko elive.
Ngigcwalisa kwana ukuthi maswati alethela uthando njengoba nemnikati wawo asho wathi konke asikwendeni ngeluthando. Lokhu silapha sitofundisana ukuthi nasiphuma la funa siye emiphakathi yethu emakhaya ethu sisebenze ngalobunhlangano ngalokubuthana ukuze umsebenzi wathi usehlula sitokhona ukuthi sinqobe nendlala ngoba na utaba wedwana ngeke ukhone ukunqoba indlala ngoba utawehlula umsebenzi nawo wedwana.
Umsebenzi ke usetawuqhubeka kude kufike lusuku la khona ingonyama seyilicitha libutho. Lobika kwethu Ndzabeni ngisandile emakhaya simini yebukhosi emfabantu.
Umhlonishwa Ndvunankhulu Russell Dlamini sawufikile edolobheni leNairobi even leKenya lapho ayomelela khona silo semhlaba emhlanganweni baholi bemave eAfrica lobuketa indzaba tamanyolo nokuphila kwemhlaba eAfrica Fertilizer and Soil Health Summit. Umhlangano ungenelwe tindvuna tekulima temave lelivekati kanye nebaholi bemave lase-Afrika. Ndvunankhulu uhamba nendvuna yetekulima umhlonishwa Amandla Chauka.
Umhlonishwa Ndvunankhulu Russell Mmiswa Dlamini wehlele esikhumulweni setindiza iJomo Kenyatta International Airport ngemsombuluko ebusuku. Ndvunankhulu wemukelwe ngosiba lukhulu welive leSwatini lotinde e-Addis Ababa, Mahlaba Mamba kanye neba7 leKenya. Ndunankulu akahambi yedwa njengobe uhamba nemkakhe ephilile, induna yetekulima umhlonishwa Amandla Chauka kanye netisebenti tembuso letitawungenela lo mhlangano. Indvuna yetekulima ibheke ukuthi ingenele umhlangano wetindvuna tembuso kusukela ngaleSibili. Ndunankulu ubheke ukuthi angenele umhlangano webaholi bemave asevekatini le-Afrika lapho atawube amelele khona iNgwenyama. Lo mhlangano ubanjwa nje baholi bemave elivekati le-Afrika bafuna kubukisana ukuthi kungentiwa njani ngemhlabatsi waleli vekati lolahlekelwa kunotsa kwawo. Lokukhatsata labaholi baleli vekati ukuthi lo mhlaba uma ungasakhiciti njengayitolo litawanza linani lebantfu labeswela kudla kuleli vekati. Leswatini libuke kuzuza lukhulwini kulo mhlangano njengoba lisemkhankasweni wekusebentisa umhlaba ukuthi lilime kuze likhone kudondla liphindze litsengisele nemave angephandle. Tindzabeni Eswatini TV kubika Themkosi Mavimbela eNairobi eKenya.
Likomiti lelibuke kusebenta kwelitiko letemafa endlini yetimphunga lithi iphalamende isasebenta umtsetfo losakhankanywa i-African Development Bank mkhondvo ngwavuma Water Project Loan Bill ayinake kutsi lolu hlelo lusita eMaswati ngalokuphelele. Timphunga betikhuluma ngesikhatsi leli komiti litsingitsa lomtsetfo.
Likomiti libuke kusebenta kwelitiko letemafa etimphungeni lihlangene endlini ngeMsombuluko kudzingidza umtsetfo losakhankanywa lotawuniketa indvuna yetemafa umhlonishwa Reckenberg emandla ekuboleka imali lengu-2.84 billion emalangeni ebhange lekutfutfukisa livekati le-Afrika i-African Development Bank yehlelo lwemanti emkhondvo lelatiwa ngelemkhondvo ngwavuma Water Augmentation Project. Sihlalo waleli komiti imphunga Tony Sibanze ichazele leli komiti kutsi sewukutiphi tigaba lomtsetfo kuleli komiti.
Le bill yasimayitablishwa abese kuba ne-first reading as a normal practice yayenda i-minister. Emva kwaloko sabese sicela i-workshop i-ministry yase-workshopha ngale bill. Sabese emva kwaloko si-invite ama-stakeholders lafika abasembi kwethu nawo apresenta kusho ukuthi labangakasiniketi kona etafuleni lasechairperson ule breakdown yale mali la ebhikwethu namhlanje.
Libandla letimphunga lelahamba netiko letemafa netiko letekuhlela umnotfo emkhondvo kuyohlola lo msebenzi tiyachaza ukuthi yini letakukhanza.
Labe sime khona njena ngayitolo kwathiwa ngilapho lelidamo litaba khona. Kwase ngakusasa ke sesiyokhonjiswa lo ukuthi litawuhamba kuphi licithele kuphi tabe sekwendiwa njani nemishini leminye bese ivele ikhona njengetigulumba kwashiwo ukuthi kutaba nemgwaco lotawuphindze wakhiwe lapha. Saya ke nalapho la kune settlement khona laba basuse khona abantu bayobakhela khona yize kungakacethwa but kuyabonakala lokho ukuthi kutawuba indzawo lenhle kakhulu angeke babe worse off kangako.
Sakhanza ukuthi kunemaswati lacashiwe lang-330 local sources kulo msebenzi. Sakhanza ukuthi kunabonjinela labacashiwe labasebentako full time labacashwe ngile nkampani kuyasetshenzwa sihlalo asikubeke kubese baleni lokho. It is obvious sihlalo ukuthi ama labor issues kulukhuni ukuthi ungawa arresta totally but nje maswati acashiwe lapha ayasebenza.
Leli komiti libese letfula imibuto netingondlo kumele tinakwe ngalomtsetfo.
Singasho isihleli la ukuthi cha impela eMaswati akithi lafunzile nalawo la khona kokuletha imisebenzi lethide abambile labambe khona.
Bengingacela nje kuva ukuthi ingabe bakhona nekubona lapho kutabana le ecocity
bebakhona kulima impilo ibe khona engabe enzaweni lensha noma sekuyinthuthuko sibona ukuthi batawukhelwa tindlu letingconywana ngoba engabe bayakhona yini ukuthi kube nendzawo lapho batiphilisa khona ngokuthi baqhubeke phela balime.
Leli komiti ke libe selibuka sicephu ngesicephu salomthetho kuqinisekisa ukuthi eMaswati azuza ngalokuphelele kulolu hlelo. Edinzabente Eswatini TV kubika Samkalisiwe Khoza ngasikhumbuzo Dlamini eParliament.
Lithe yena liqhubeka nemsebenzi yokuthingisa umthetho losakhankanya lotawuniketa indvuna yetemafa umhlonishwa noRackenberg emandla ekuboleka imali lengu-2.84 billion amalangeni e-African Development Bank lekuyimali yekusebenta luhlelo lwemandi yemkhondvo. Lelikomiti ngasihlalo walo imphungathoni Sibanze licele ukuthi lelitiko selethulele lelikomiti umbiko lohlahlela kucace ukuthi le mali itawusebenta njani.
All they just wanted is not bebangacelile ma details are all the bebangacelile ma finer details of the costing, as in how many bags of cement, how many that and that. All they are asking for is to say, you are the Minister of Finance, you are coming to this house, you want support for the approval of this 2 billion loan. They are saying, what are we buying? What are we paying for with this 2 billion? Tell us what we are paying for. And I think it's within their rights as oversight. You know, if I provide oversight, they must do diligence to know, ukuthi nabababuta lengapha ukuthi lo 2 billion nathi nifuna kubhadala ini. At least now they must have comfort to say, no, relocation was a budget of so much of people, relocation of people. So lokuba susa ubabeke la logo mhlawumbe cleaning, environmental or what, you know, just not necessarily to say construction of the dam is so much broken down into so many bags, cement and what.
Kutemidlalo nompembe wakuleli Letitia Viana sekubheka ukuthi abeke phansi ekubeni nginompembe nakuphela isizini lesetulu. Inhlangano yabonompembe kuleli iyambongela futhi yamdumisa ngekufaka sandla ekuthuthukiseni lizinga labonompembe kuleli. Letitia waqala ukuba nginompembe ngeminyaka wa 2005.
Nompembe wakuleli longumake Letitia Viana loneminyaka 39 kubheka ukuthi abeke phasi umsebenzi wokuba nginompembe nakuphela isizini lesetulu. Ngekusho kwalabati lendzaba kangcono yena Viana lwaqala umsebenzi wokuba nginompembe ngeminyaka wa 2005 bekubhekeke ukuthi abeke phasi eminyakeni lophelile kodwa-ke kwaba khona sicelo sokuthi akachubeka asebenze nakule sizini lesetulu. Ngekusho kwalabo labati lendzaba kangcono inhlangano lengamela umdlalo webhola evenikatini le-Afrika yatiswa nayo ngalesinqumo eminyakeni lophelile. Viana unemlambo lomuhle kulo msebenzi wokuba nginompembe lapho khona waba nginompembe longumake wekucala kuthola i-FIFA accreditation ngeminyaka wa 2015. Kanzi Viana uphinza benemlambo ukuba ngompembe wokucala wakuleli ukuthi athole ithuba lokusebenzisa i-visual assistance referee leyatiwa ngokuthi VAR ngeminyaka wa 2021 ngesikhathi ekudlalwa indlebe yemhlaba yabomake ma-under 17 lebe-7 laseNdiya. Waqala ukudlalisa esigabeni saka-Premier League kuleli ngeminyaka wa 2007 kanzi imicuthelwano lemikhulu lakhonile kuyidlalisa ifaka ikhathi indlebe ye-Africa Cup of Nations yabomake eminyaka wa 2016 lapho khona umdlalo wakhe wekucala bewusemkhathini kwelive leNigeria kanye nelive leKenya. Leminye imidlalo ifaka ikhathi Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers kanye nemidlalo eCAF Champions League yabomake iminyaka 2021 lebebanjelwe eveni laseGibhitha. Kubeka phasi kwakhe Viana kusho ukuthi utawusebenzisa lithuba ukuthi afundzise labanye bonompembe njengoba uphethe timbepha letibitwa ngokuthi CAF A elide woman referee lemnika-ke imvumo ukuthi angafundzisa labanye bonompembe. Inhlangano yabonompembe kuleli ithi iyabonga kakhulu ngomsebenzi wakhe lawentile yena Viana kanti kube kuya ngabo ngabe uyachubeka nokusebenta aphakamisa umjeka welive. Ubikela umsakazi Eswatini TV temidlalo ngilinda Dlamini kanzi umbiko uhlanzo Fabrice Msonera eMbabane.
Inhlangano lengamele umdlalo welibhola lemphebeto kuleli icecesha abadlali balomdlalo labadlala i-wheelchair tennis ngokucala solo kwasekunyiswa lo mdlalo eminyakeni lemibili leyengcile. Labadlali baceceshelwe Olympia Africa galobamba. Satiphetha ngaleto temidlalo asibahlala temakethe sidaba esichibeke nehlelo.
Kude lesinye isikhathi ngaphandle kwalesi
aba research
bafunze. Being risky it means ukuthi nalokuwa kwayo kulula.
nathi kufuna sente ukukhicita lokusemndeni.
Renewal of TV licenses for 2024 is now open. Here is a quick reminder. A viewer's TV license costs 180 emalangeni per device. Other accessories such as decoders and set-top box cost 50 emalangeni per device. For traders and repairers, TV license costs 300 emalangeni per business area. And now, to pay your TV license, use these following methods. You can use MTN Mobile Money with the number 762222000 or dial *007 *3 *7 hash. Or you can use Eswatini Imali. And you can pay our TV license at any post office in the country. Another option is you can use any Nedbank branch using our TV license account number 119900430037. Don't forget, when paying for your viewer's TV license, reference with your PIN at all times. And when paying for a retailer TV license, reference with your TIN at all times. For more information, call us on 7802-4543 or 34050163 or 34020879. And you can send us a WhatsApp message on 762222000.
All right, it's 32 minutes after 6. Welcome back to the program. We did mention when the show started that today's episode is all about health education. So we do want to welcome Lindy Wedlala on the program this morning to talk about menstrual health importance, particularly in Eswatini. They are part of Days for Girls Eswatini, an organization that is dedicated to menstrual health empowerment. Now, Lindy is going to help me discuss quite a lot in the work that they do. We want to start by looking at the overview of Days for Girls Eswatini and its core mission. We want to explore the mission of Days for Girls Eswatini and how it is making a difference in their community. Lindy, welcome to the program. A very good morning to you.
Siyabonga Nkosi, we're fine.
Yeah.
Thank you for having us.
An important endeavor that Days for Girls Eswatini has undertaken. We have seen over the years that menstrual education, is an important topic. But sitting from where I'm sitting, my journalistic chair, I'm seeing quite a lot of pressing issues get the spotlight and not so much menstrual health care. But maybe before I get into the nitty-gritty of where, I've made my own interrogations and have come up with many questions for you. Let's start with the overview of Days for Girls Eswatini and its core mission.
Okay. Basically, just to start off, Days for Girls is an international organization that was started in 2008 by a lady in the US when she noticed that there was a serious problem. She was working in Kenya at that time. Lakangwane ke Eswatini, we started Days for Girls in 2017, October. Days for Girls really works to eliminate stigma and limitations associated with menstruation so that women and girls can be able to thrive, So we provide education, we provide a product as well, and also we focus on livelihoods because our product is made solely by women here in Swaziland. I think we'll talk more about that as well. So to date, as Days for Girls Eswatini, we've reached probably just over 30,000 women and girls, but mostly girls.
You
in
make that
school
sound like
girls.
that's a small number, and that's a big number. Yeah, keep going.
Yes, yes. In the few years we've been there, we've just reached to those people.
Yeah.
So we are happy that we are really just adding to the fight of menstrual equity and against period poverty, Eswatini.
Yeah.
We are a fairly small organization, but we reach out a lot because we work with a lot of young people that I will explain later on how we work with them, who reach out to their peers on menstrual health. So basically, we are focused on menstrual health.
Okay, let's get into the health education. I want to find out how Days for Girls Eswatini approaches menstrual health education. I think that's very important. And what are some of the key topics really that you cover in your, let me say, curriculum, for lack of a better word?
Yes. Okay, basically we, just like everyone, we believe that knowledge is power. It is important for young people to know, even before they start menstruating, which you call menarche, before they start menstruating, on what really happens in their bodies. They need to be body literate so that they are able to manage themselves, to manage the changes that happen, especially at puberty. So what we do at Days for Girls, we have two kinds of teachings that we do. We've got one which is done by the young people that are trained as ambassadors of women's health. Then we also got young men who are also under the program Men Who Know. They are also trained and certified. The training is also online, and we also do it even locally ourselves, just for emphasis, because we have to contextualize our teaching to fit the Swazi context. Because Days for Girls has got just a curriculum that covers almost all the countries. But Siati would love the message to be tailored for us. So we do the basics. The topics that are covered is hygiene, your body hygiene, the washing of hands as well. We did it long before COVID. Days for Girls has always been doing that as part of the curriculum because it is important to always keep your hands clean, especially because when you're menstruating, you use the bathroom a lot.
Right.
So that's one of the things that we cover. And then puberty. It's important for a young person to know ukuthi ma angena kule stage sekukhula kwentekani emtimbeni wakhe, the physical changes and what do they mean, and also the emotional changes and what do they mean.
Yeah, I want us to get into how the girls in particular are receiving. No, let me not say girls. How Emaswati are receiving this information as disseminated across all the areas that you disseminated to. And I want to believe if you speak about 30,000 young girls that you have reached out to, and that includes remote areas as well, where a lot of this information, wouldn't reach, in any given day. So how are they receiving this information? And I suppose that also allows us to measure the impact really of this project.
Oh, they receive it so well. Firstly, because kuba a safe space for the young people to interact with someone who's also young, because the person who teaches them is also young. So they're able to open up. They're able to share their experiences because we bring it down to telling the story. When you started, what happened? When I started as the educator, what happened? Then they're able to open up. When we reach women, we also reach them to sort of teach them to teach their children. They really get surprised, and they really, kuvusa kutsibona, they never got the chance of knowing about their bodies, of knowing about the changes, of understanding menstrual cycle as a whole, of understanding the reproductive system. I mean, when you talk to a child about menstruation, they think that menstruation is just the egg coming out. Then when you tell them exactly what it is, they understand. They understand it so well. But when you reach the men as well, they are very happy because men should know what happens to their children, especially their girl child. Because don't get involved in the umfana akhona nekutiphatha kahle, akhona nekuti-understanda ukuthi kwentekani empilweni yakhe. Uthi umniketa nje the product that you are giving, the pads that we give out as organizations, abe art how to handle herself, how to handle everything that happens, how to deal with the cramps, how to count the days as well. Kungamtholi nje asasesikolweni asathi uyasukuma so ngolisile because sawuyakwati kubala sibaniketa nale calendar sibafundise nalokubala ukuthi ati ukuthi ngalamalanga lawa sengiyaphatha emgodla godleni wami liphedi lami because khona lokutawendeka.
Yeah.
So they really receive it well. When it comes to the boys, it's a bit funny, for them, but at the same time, they understand at the end that they are allies. Because they all have brothers, they all have they all have sisters, they all have mothers, they all have grandmothers. So they now understand. There is no shame
and
in
they will
it.
have wives as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because understand menstruation is what brought all of us here.
Yeah. I want us to get into, what menstruation is, because I think, as you keep responding, my ignorance is being exposed to a certain extent, because, as far as my education goes, it's exactly what they normally tell you what menstruation is, which is, the minuscule definition of it, and the definition is quite broader than that, and it's important that we know the broader definition of what menstruation is. I mean, I'm still stuck into, in the definition that I funza maybe in primary, reproductive health, but I will ask you that question. But before that one, I want to get us to get into menstrual equity. What that means really, because I think you've spoken about the importance of the education itself. You've also spoken about the access to the hygiene products, which is the sanitary pads, I believe, and I think we haven't also touched at the fact that you do provide a certain type of sanitary pad to these women. So let's define what menstrual equity is and what it is really that you provide for these women.
Basically, when you talk about menstrual equity, as a woman, you should not be held back by menstruation, really. You can be productive whilst menstruating as well, because we know that as women, sometimes we're held back because of menstruation. For example, a child can miss school because aganayo product. A woman can miss work because aganayo product. They can miss school and work because they are having cramps that are unbearable. And kunama issues lamanye la related to health. So we want ukuthi nemuntu wesifazane naye anakekeleke ngetindzaba taka menstruation, so that naye kuba equitable intuthuko yakhe.
And I suppose it then becomes very important for us men to learn that as well, because like you are saying, a woman may experience cramps at the workplace, and we work with a lot of women, Nalam 17, and every workplace expects women to show up, even when they are menstruating. So I think it is important even for us to be sensitized around that issue. My question then becomes, what do you provide besides just, the information, the education on what, menstrual health care is? What do you provide for these women?
Okay, what we provide is our product.
Okay.
We have the Days for Girls pad. This is a patented product. It comes, for us, we believe it is just not the pad alone, it comes as a kit. Okay. Because so our kit comes with panties that are made of cotton, it comes with soap, it comes with a pamphlet that has got easy instructions and how to use the product. So basically, we just bring it as a pack so that the child is covered, the woman is covered. Lokunye lokwendekako is that we are happy because it's not a program yaka men who know. Yeah. Hence, even noma singafika la emsakatweni, sesitokhuluma nabo sisi labala nabo make labala, nani sitawukhuluma nani. The young men who we have, we've got 6 young men who are ambassadors as well, and we've got 11 young women that are ambassadors. Okay. So, like masingafika nje esikolweni, bafana nabo, they get their talk.
Okay. No.
Girls get their talk so that it is equitable, so that everyone knows.
Really, really important work that you are doing, Lindy. I'm afraid I have to let you go, but I do have somebody that you came to the studio with, Puleng Sitebe. She's the project coordinator, and we will get in detail into, the taboos and the stigma, and it will touch on to something that she just touched on briefly. Why should men be involved in the cause as well? Puleng Sitebe joins me in a few seconds.
Be sure to catch Business Watch every Wednesday between 2 p.m. to 3 p.m, where we feature the latest updates on business news market trends, and exclusive interviews with industry leaders, as well as insights on emerging small and medium enterprises in the commercial sector. Business Watch, your business leader.
Hey you! Yes, you. Have you paid your TV license?
Did you know that by paying for your TV license fees, you will be complying with the laws that govern television possession, and particularly the Swaziland Television Authority Act of 1983 and its regulations? It is a legal obligation.
Paying for your TV license can have a positive spin-off, as the money collected from TV license fees goes a long way in assisting Eswatini Television Authority procure appealing and relevant content to broadcast on the channel.
So now, these fees also increase purchasing of local content from independent producers, which helps ensure that the arts and film industry in the country is well supported thus far, ensures the creation of jobs for Emaswati. The payment of TV license fees goes a really long way in such endeavors, as well as nation building.
A TV license costs 180 emalangeni per year per device, and for other accessories such as a decoder ginger, it costs 50 emalangeni per device per year.
By paying for your TV license,
you will be doing the right thing.
Minutes after 6, welcome back to the program. We are still on our conversation on the important mission that Days for Girls Eswatini is doing in Eswatini, and I'm joined by Puleng Sitebe now. She's the project coordinator, under this very important cause. Welcome to the program as well, Puleng. Let's talk about something that Mage Lindiwe was starting to touch on, and I realized now this is actually what I had prepared for you and not for her.
Okay.
Taboos and stigma. She was talking about, co-opting men into the cause as a strategic way to effectively get the, information across. Why is that important, first and foremost? And maybe, let me rephrase it. How have cultural taboos, in Eswatini and stigma impacted the perception of menstruation, let me say menstruation in Eswatini? And what strategies do you have as Days for Girls Eswatini that you have employed to challenge these norms?
Okay. All right. So basically what has happened with Eswatini is that stigma has been passed on to generations for years. And with the stigma, it's always this thing about menstruation being dirty. When we look at cultural context, like back in history, there would be times where a woman would be excluded from certain activities just because she was a menstruator. So what we do as Days for Girls is to go out and educate, obviously with cultural sensitive measures, so that people can know that it's not actually something that is dirty and that should be feared. And we always try to put it out there that it's something that we should take pride to be something to be embraced, just so that a woman doesn't feel ashamed of going through something that is biological, something that she cannot control. So that's what we do. And then in terms of approaches, like I said, we use cultural sensitive approaches to tackle stigma. So basically we're talking about to community leaders, we're looking at teachers as well, we're looking at parents, mothers, it's because at the end of the day, all of these things are so systematic. And if we do want to break down the stigma, then we need to go into the root cause and break it down and hit it on the nut.
And perhaps before I get into my second question on co-opting men into the cause, how have you, received the people in the communities, the cultural sensitive measures that are there? The pervasive myth around, menstruation being something that's dirty, and it's something that's biological that we should, all get a grip of. Vele nanibakhanza labantu lena imimangweni nibakhanza vele le perception yabo vele kusesengileke ukuthi this is something dirty. I'm wondering.
I think if I'm being truly honest, when we go out to these people and we talk in communities, they have a very negative perception.
Wow.
And you'll be shocked and you're like, I mean, it's 21st century, like, hello. But then, like, honestly, people still feel like, oh, blood. It's dirty, like I can't even look at it, But then I think the trick here is to try to redefine menstruation, just so that people can see it and view it differently. So instead of dirty, let's call it fertility. Let's call it your power, Let's embrace it and say, because of this, you do something that men can't do, and that makes you unique, and that is your superpower. So that's what we're trying to do when we go to these communities, to say it's not dirty and it's not like
Let's go with superpower.
Yeah.
Engaging men, fathers. You also have male ambassadors, as Lindy were alluded. Why is that important in breaking down the stigma? And what are some of the successes maybe that you can share that you have seen in co-opting men into the cause?
Okay, so basically with the Men Who Know program, we said to ourselves, if we want to break down stigma, we can't just aim for the girls. There are two genders in Eswatini or the world, and if we want to make change, two genders and more, of course.
Indeed.
Yes, if we want to make change, we need to involve both parties to be part of the movement. So the Men Who Know encourages men to be allies and supporters of menstruators. And also with fathers, I think we wanted to say that, like, when you're a man and you have a daughter and she starts menarche, she goes into menarche, we want you to be able to be confident to talk about menstruation. It shouldn't be like a taboo and be like, you shouldn't worry and stress, where's my sister, where's my aunt, who's going to have the conversation? You should be able to talk about it, be confident about it. And if you're confident about it, your daughter is just going to be as confident and embrace it, that period of her life.
Because there are those girls that don't have their sister and their aunt and the mom, and they just have their father.
Yes.
And, as soon as they get into what you call menarche,
yes.
they need their father to be present and resourceful, so to speak, as they go through that. Addressing period poverty, and this is a term that I found really interesting. We tend to speak about poverty quite a lot in media, and it's always one of those things that are always pressing and urgent. Period poverty, what does that mean, and how do you address it? We'll get to gender-based violence after that, but how do we address period poverty?
Okay, when we talk about period poverty, we're talking about lack of access to menstrual products, but then we're also talking about facilities, poor facilities to perform your menstrual health management strategy or technique. So when we talk about period poverty, we're talking about lack of access, inadequate facilities, lack of knowledge as well. That's what we talk about when we say period poverty.
I suppose that makes sense, and it also speaks to Magadlada mentioned that you do have a toolkit which is specifically designed for the time of the month, and she did mention that you give them out for free, which is something that we want to applaud. Let's get into how then this all trickles down into maybe also responding to gender-based violence, in any way. How does that happen?
Okay, so I would just say that our organization as a whole is a big factor and looks into gender-based violence. And when we look at our product and we think about how gender-based violence actually starts, it's about women not being empowered enough, lack of resources as well. So with our product and our organization is, we give out these menstrual pads so that these girls can be empowered by going to school, so that no girl misses school, right? So in that way, we are empowering girls. And when we look at gender-based violence, it's a big word, but then to see the cause, we need to tap into the little things that actually cause gender-based violence. Maybe we're not making the greatest impact in gender-based violence, but we are very much against systematic change below the pyramid.
Because I've seen how, also sports has also co-opted that. Football players are also, doing what they can to add into the cause.
To end gender-based violence, it's not one thing that's going to end gender-based violence. It's a lot of counterparts that come together to break gender-based violence, and we're very much a great counterpart here.
Buleng, you will also extend these to Mage Lindiwe. Thank you so much for coming to the program and providing your valuable insights into, menstrual health care. I think Eswatini really appreciate getting this kind of education. We have to go for a commercial break. I had a few more questions for you, but maybe some other time.
Okay.
Are you ready to own your future? Boto University Eswatini campus is proud to announce a golden opportunity for aspiring students.
I am more convinced that this is the best university on the face of the planet.
Boto University Eswatini is fully registered and accredited by Eswatini Higher Education Council and has opened doors to offer enrollment for government-sponsored students. At Boto University, we believe in empowering minds, nurturing talents, and shaping the architects of a future prosperous Eswatini.
We produce quality graduates who propagate the growth and development of our region.
With our world-class faculty and cutting-edge resources with international partnership and student exchange program, you'll receive an education that goes beyond textbooks. Boto University offers a 4-year bachelor's degree in business, accounting, computing, mobile computing and network security and computer forensics, as well as health information management.
Boto University.
Vibrance. Innovation.
Impact.
Kude lesinye isikhathi ngaphandle kwalesi.
Aba research bafunde.
Being risky means ukuthi nalokuwa kwayo kulula.
Nathi kufuna sende ukukhicita lokusembili.
Ujala masoda mahle kunathi lesa.
Sabatandi ukuthi njengalokhu
sivile sive sithi khulumeni.
We've all got our own idea of what's good. For one person, it could be a bowl of ice cream. For another, it's listening to their favorite song. But for economists and governments, good is something else altogether. In fact, there's even something they call a public good. Does that mean sharing your ice cream? Not quite. Hi, I'm Alex. You probably use some form of a public good all the time. They're where a lot of our taxes go. Roads, schools, parks, even national defense. They're things that everyone in a country, taxpayer or not, can benefit from and enjoy without them ever being used up. And that's not even the half of it. If we adjust our scope, we see that these things are all around us. Sunshine, air, and a whole lot more. Economists consider these things public goods too. But they're even more than that. They're considered global public goods because they don't belong to any one country. They do still benefit us all, no matter where we come from. In fact, some of them, like clean air, are things we can't even live without. But they're sure not treated the same. For example, there's way more public funding for national defense than there is for fighting climate change. But is that how it should be? Think of it this way. If you stop maintaining a road, or a school, or a bridge for that matter, it would fall apart. So everyone pitches in through their tax money for upkeep and repairs to prevent that from happening. On a global scale, it's pretty similar. Unless countries come together to protect and maintain the things that we all benefit from, those global public goods, we'll be much worse off, and in some cases, we'll end up ruining them forever. In today's world, global public goods like the environment are under threat from pollution and overuse. And others like trade, financial stability, and public health are all global concerns that require maintenance and international cooperation. That's where international organizations come in, to keep the world connected on these issues. The G20 is a good example of that. We also have the United Nations for diplomacy, the World Health Organization for public health, and yeah, the IMF for economic growth and stability. But there's a role for us all to play here. The good news is that people and governments are increasingly recognizing their benefits. And if we act now, both current and future generations will get to enjoy them too.
Welcome back. This is the international news at 7. Russian President Vladimir Putin has ordered tactical nuclear weapon drills as part of a military exercise to deter the West. Now, since its invasion, Moscow has repeatedly warned of rising nuclear risks, saying the United States and its European allies are feigning confrontation between nuclear powers. It comes as Russian forces continue to make incremental gains on the ground, capturing 2 villages in Kharkiv and the Donetsk region, as well as the village of Soloviev in the eastern Ukraine.
The front line is inching closer, and villages nearby are trapped in a deluge of Russian fire. This Ukrainian police unit is in charge of evacuating residents in the east of the country. They're forced to flee at a moment's notice with minimal belongings, with often the injured to carry.
The car is outside. We need to hurry, but stay calm.
Just 5 kilometers from the front line, the sound of fighting is incessant. Little remains of this village, where many houses have been bombarded and abandoned.
Since the 1st of May, it's worse than hell. It just doesn't stop.
This Ukrainian woman is awaiting instructions from her daughter, who's trying to organize her evacuation.
I can't talk to her. There's no network with all that bombing.
Moscow says it's captured more frontline villages in Kharkiv in the northeast, as well as several villages in Avdiivka in the Donetsk region, modest but steady advances. Russia has made a string of gains in recent months, as Ukraine deals with severe weapons and ammunition shortages, with a prolonged holdup in Washington leaving them struggle to hold the front line. For Kyiv, the $61 billion aid from the US couldn't arrive on the battlefield soon enough.
Reports of possible progress on a ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas are happening against the backdrop of Israel's plan for a military incursion into the southern Gaza city of Rafah. Now, in Washington, President Joe Biden launched with Jordan's king and spoke to Israel's leader by phone.
Tension in Rafah after Israel signaled its intention, over Washington's objections, to launch a ground assault on the packed town at Gaza's southern point. And tension in Washington amid reports that Israel and Hamas were close to a ceasefire deal Monday. Jordan's king lunched privately Monday with U.S. President Joe Biden, and the administration said Gaza was discussed. Biden also called Israel's leader by phone Monday morning. The White House said its wishes are clear.
We want to get these hostages out. We want to get a ceasefire in place for 6 weeks. We want to increase humanitarian assistance. And the last thing that I want to do is say anything at this podium that's going to put that process at risk.
In Gaza, residents celebrated at Monday's news that Hamas had accepted an Egyptian-Qatari ceasefire proposal. The State Department was more skeptical about whether a deal had, in fact, been reached.
A ceasefire is absolutely achievable. There has been a deal on the table, a proposal on the table that would achieve an immediate ceasefire and the release of hostages. Now, as for Hamas's response, which I think gets to your question, again, I don't want to characterize it in any sort of detail until we've had a chance to review it in depth and talk with our partners in the region about it.
Meanwhile, Israel's military has told Rafah residents to evacuate ahead of a ground operation.
We examine every answer and reply very seriously and find every possibility regarding the negotiations for the return of the hostages to their homes as a central task as quickly as possible. And at the same time, we continue our operations in the Gaza Strip and will continue to do so.
The United Nations expressed concerns over an incursion into Rafah.
Any escalation of hostilities resulting from a full-scale incursion into Rafah will push residents and displaced people currently living there past their breaking point.
And the White House expressed concerns about civilians after what appeared to be aerial strikes there on Monday.
It doesn't matter whether it's missiles or rockets, things that kill innocent people, that's not okay. And again, the president made it clear that we don't want to see operations in Rafah that put at risk those 1.5 million people that are there.
It's those people who today are caught in the middle of all this.
From top to bottom, rescuers scour buildings in Porto Alegre for inhabitants stuck in apartments or on rooftops as unprecedented flooding turned the streets of the Brazilian metropolis into rivers. The death toll has risen to at least 83 people, while more than 100 are still missing.
Entire towns are submerged, roads are washed out, and a statewide operation is underway in Rio Grande do Sul, roughly a week after the deluge began in southern Brazil. In the streets of Canoas, boats scour buildings and rooftops, and local residents in waist-high muddy waters make a human chain to pull the boats and ferry people to safety. Elsewhere, others are airlifted with their children in their arms.
We have removed all the people who were on their roofs. Now we are removing people stuck in the second and third floors of their houses.
The death toll is climbing, more than 100 people are missing, and the storms have impacted nearly 2/3 of the state's 497 cities, including in the capital Porto Alegre, a city of nearly 1.4 million people, where the Guaíba River burst its banks on Sunday and recorded its highest ever water levels. From above, President Lula da Silva and a team of ministers and Congress surveyed the damage.
I put them all in the helicopter and came here so that we could see what the floods mean, together with the governor. So they saw the damage the rain is causing, because it's still happening in the city of Porto Alegre and the state of Rio Grande do Sul.
This is the fourth such environmental disaster in the state in a year, following floods in July, September and November. While South America is periodically affected by the El Niño phenomenon, the impacts are growing increasingly dramatic, and extreme weather events are expected to be more frequent due to climate change.
Call from Israeli academic institutions comes as Jewish students in the US say the ongoing demonstrations are making them feel unsafe.
The pro-Palestinian anti-Israel protests at American universities are causing some Jewish students to feel uncomfortable on their campuses. Maya Resnick is a student in a dual degree program between Tel Aviv University and Columbia University in New York, where she's slated to start later this year. But the anti-Israel protests have caused her to rethink the move.
I find it upsetting and disturbing and a little bit frightening for when I go. Just knowing that already being a member of this program, I will have, I'm just under extra scrutiny, and like there are a lot of my peers motioning for my program to be removed. So it's just an overall feeling that I am not so welcome.
Some Jewish students at Columbia who identify as pro-Israel and demonstrate in support of the Israeli hostages being held by Hamas in Gaza report that they have been harassed.
Jewish people were assaulted. I myself was also harassed. A person was yelling at me, screaming at me, calling me a Zionist, and a murderer. We feel right now the campus has been overtaken by a rather extreme ideology. And I think it's so sad because a lot of us really care about the idea of like Palestinian liberation of free Palestine.
Some Israeli academics say that the pro-Palestinian encampments around the U.S. do not recognize the complexity of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict.
What we need to do as the State of Israel and as Israeli universities is we need to offer a place where a nuanced discussion of Israel and of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict can take place.
The University of Haifa and other Israeli universities are offering American Jewish students and faculty the opportunity to transfer to Israeli academic institutions, either temporarily or permanently. The prestigious Technion Israel Institute of Technology is accelerating plans for a one-year preparatory program for American students that will include intensive Hebrew in addition to technological studies. The Technion has already received dozens of requests for information about the program.
We offer them the opportunity of spending time here. As students, they can either integrate into our studies, it is especially easy in our graduate school. As faculty, we offer them the opportunity to spend time here, join existing research, bring their research in, collaborate with our students, collaborate with our faculty.
As students go home for the summer, the anti-Israel encampments could dissipate. But even if there is a ceasefire in Gaza, some Jewish students worry that the anti-Israel attitudes could linger.
There are 6 months left in the United States presidential race between Democratic President Joe Biden and Republican candidate Donald Trump. VOA looks at what is ahead for the campaigns in the run-up to Election Day.
President Joe Biden and former President Donald Trump have 6 months left to persuade American voters to give them a second term. Trump will spend some of that time in state or federal court answering 4 separate indictments on charges that include unlawful retention of national defense information and falsifying business records. He says prosecutors are interfering in the election.
Everything was legal. And they're doing this because it's for politics. They want to get Biden elected. That's the only reason.
The court appearances are reducing Trump's time campaigning, but he says what he calls a political hoax is only making him more popular with voters.
It's a terrible, terrible thing happening in our country. And hopefully, November 5th, the most important day in the history of our country, in my opinion, that's called Election Day. Hopefully it's going to change because these people are destroying our country.
The Republican Party last nominated Trump for president at its semi-virtual 2020 convention in North Carolina. This year's Republican convention is in July in the state of Wisconsin. Before then, Trump will need to choose a new running mate. Among those he's believed to be considering for vice president are Florida Senator Marco Rubio, Ohio Senator J.D. Vance, South Carolina Senator Tim Scott, and New York Representative Elise Stefanik. As the incumbent president, Biden has the advantage of White House events to keep voters' attention on the campaign trail. Biden is becoming more pointed in his attacks on Trump, while claiming credit for a stronger economy.
Construction of new factories has more than doubled in our administration. Meanwhile, Donald Trump still thinks windmills cause cancer. That's what he said. By the way, remember when he was trying to deal with COVID, he said, just inject a little bleach in your veins. He missed it, all went to his hair.
The Democratic Party last nominated Biden for president at its semi-virtual 2020 convention in Wisconsin. This year's Democratic convention is in August in the state of Illinois. Biden is running again with Vice President Kamala Harris, who's been campaigning for restoring federal abortion protections that were ended when the U.S. Supreme Court overturned the case Roe v. Wade in 2022.
Donald Trump was the president who took away the protections of Roe. Joe Biden will be the president who puts the protections of Roe back in place.
Before November's election day, Biden and Trump are expected to debate. Both men say they're ready. No date's been set.
Defense ministers from the United States, Australia, Japan and the Philippines met for a second round of quadrilateral talks in less than a year this week amid further aggression from the Chinese military.
The Indo-Pacific on edge. Chinese military vessels harassing Philippine ships with water cannon in the South China Sea. The United States, Australia, Japan, and the Philippines banding together in Hawaii this week to say enough.
We've been very clear to everyone, to include Beijing, that the kind of behavior that we've seen where Filipino crews are put in danger, that's irresponsible behavior and it disregards international law.
The quartet of defense ministers held a quadrilateral meeting on Thursday to coordinate their defense of a free and open Indo-Pacific.
The four of us have committed to work closer together in order to have more synergies and partnership.
We are standing for what has underpinned prosperity and security within the Indo-Pacific for decades and has literally seen millions of people raised out of poverty. That's what this is about.
The United States already has bilateral treaties with each of these partners, but officials say China's actions in the region have bound them together in a bigger, multilateral way.
Who deserves most of the credit for these positive developments we're seeing this week in Hawaii? I'd say Xi Jinping.
Defense analyst Brad Bowman says Beijing is acting like a schoolyard bully, and he expects wide criticism from China of this deepening quadrilateral cooperation.
The bully doesn't want to deal with 4 or 5 kids at the same time. He'd rather deal with one at a time. And so if you're interested in maintaining a free and open Indo-Pacific consistent with American economic and security interests, then you want to get all the kids together, fellow kids together that share those interests and cooperate.
The U.S., Japan, Australia, and the Philippines announced they will hold more maritime military drills as part of efforts to boost cooperation. China unlawfully claims almost the entire South China Sea as its territory and continues to ramp up defense spending.
And in Africa news, Zimbabwe's parliament has started nationwide consultations after the cabinet in February agreed to abolish the death penalty to conform with international standards.
Bindura, Zimbabwe, a crime-riddled mining town about 100 kilometers from the capital Harare and the site of a recent public hearing on the death penalty. Zimbabwe's parliament hopes citizens will support the bill abolishing the death penalty for crimes such as aggravated murder and treason. Energy Mutodi heads the parliament's Justice Committee, which is leading the hearings.
The people have spoken. They are coming up with different views. Some are for the idea that the death penalty must be removed. Some are saying it must remain in the Constitution as a deterrent measure.
Those against the death penalty, like Tinei Mashone, say the punishment is too harsh and archaic.
If you look at our Constitution, it protects women from the death sentence. But we are pushing for equality. That is the basis of constitutionalism and democracy. But there is a bias there. So I am in support of the new bill. It should pass so that we can correct people. We cannot solve violence with violence.
Amnesty International says it hopes Zimbabweans support the proposed law to end the death sentence.
Once it's done, and if someone is wrongly accused, then we cannot then take that life back. 2, we are saying this law is something that is a colonial relic that came with the white colonialists, and they were using the death penalty to oppress the black majority. So we are saying, why are we still inheriting something that was being used against us as the black majority?
Some participants at the hearing said they are seeing people who killed their relatives walking scot-free. Some Zimbabweans called for imposing the the death sentence on rapists and those who commit violent crimes like robbery.
I disagree.
I disagree, because some are pardoned after serving 5 years and released. Right now, I see the person who killed my brother walking freely. What should I do? If there is no hangman, you can hire me.
The last execution in Zimbabwe took place in 2005, and death penalty opponent President Emmerson Mnangagwa last month commuted the death row sentences for some prisoners to that of life imprisonment.
South Africa's treatment of its big cats has long tarnished its reputation for conservation, from allowing captive-bred lion hunting to selling lion bonds to East Asia for their purported medicinal qualities. Viewer discretion is advised on the following story.
These lions were bred for the bullet. Their destiny was to be killed by trophy hunters who pay thousands of dollars to take part in hunts where the animal has zero prospect of escape.
A lion will be feeding, minding its own business, not aware that it will be killed on that day. They will use meat to lure it closer, and then someone will just take a gun and shoot it and then pose for social media.
The lions at the sanctuary are some of the lucky ones. They were moved from a captive breeding facility.
They've been living the most comfortable life. As you know, everything comes with a silver platter to them.
South Africa has the biggest population of captive-bred lions in the world, some 8,000 according to the government, though NGOs put the figure higher, almost 3 times the number found in the wild. Fiona Miles is the director of Lions Rock and Four Paws South Africa, an animal welfare NGO. She says the captive lion breeding industry is a vicious cycle.
The lions are intensively bred, almost in a factory farming way. So lionesses are forced to breed. The cubs are taken away from them as soon as possible after birth. Those cubs are then used for interactions with paying guests or paying visitors.
Later, they are often used in so-called canned hunting. And there is also a whole industry around lion bones, which are used in traditional Chinese medicine, though South Africa hasn't allowed their export since 2019. A 2015 documentary called Blood Lions drew international outrage when it showed the cramped and filthy conditions in which some of the animals were kept. The reputational damage prompted South Africa's government to investigate shutting down the industry and set up a ministerial task team to provide recommendations. In March, the cabinet announced it was phasing out captive lion breeding. This will be done over an estimated 2-year period, allowing lion breeders of the 342 facilities across the country to voluntarily exit the industry, with rules in place in the interim.
One is a moratorium on new facilities, the other is a moratorium on breeding. We will have a reduction in the number of lions progressively. To close down an industry requires a long legislative process that has to go to 2 houses of parliament and has to have tremendous amount of consultation.
Lion breeders must sterilize their animals and can reduce the number of big cats during that time through hunting or euthanasia. Stockpiles of lion bones will be burned to prevent their sale.
The government saw that there was a huge risk to our reputation as a conservation country. Four Paws is calling for a very clear, time-bound plan, one that gives very clear milestones of how the voluntary phase-out is going to look like, so that an absolute ban can be put into place afterwards.
At the end of the 2 years, the remaining lions will be moved to sanctuaries like this one, where they will get a new lease on life.
After years of delays, Boeing Starliner capsule is set to ferry astronauts to the International Space Station on Monday, a milestone for the United States aerospace giant and NASA. The flight, a final test before Starliner takes up regular service for the space agency, is critical for Boeing, whose reputation has suffered of late due to safety issues with its passenger jets.
After years of delay, Boeing's Starliner spacecraft is ready to ferry 2 veteran astronauts on a final test mission. Powered by an Atlas rocket, the capsule will take off from Cape Canaveral on Monday evening and will dock with the International Space Station 26 hours later.
If I was a young astronaut and I was thinking about going to the moon, I think I'd put my hand up and say, I want to fly Starliner.
Boeing is trying to catch up to its rival SpaceX, which has brought 50 people to space on its Crew Dragon craft since 2020. Boeing, however, has trod a much more difficult road to human spaceflight. It first attempted to rendezvous with the ISS in 2019, but failed to complete its mission due to technical difficulties. Another attempted unmanned mission was successful in 2022, but also had issues. Nonetheless, NASA is optimistic about the current test.
Do we expect it to go perfectly? This is the first human flight of the spacecraft. I'm sure we'll find things out. That's why we do this.
Should the test flight be successful, it will pave the way for Boeing to begin regular service to the ISS for NASA's Commercial Crew program. NASA ended its space shuttle program in 2011 and has since relied on Russia and SpaceX for transportation. Coordination between Russian and American space agencies has stalled, as NASA has cut most ties since Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine in 2022.
French bakers cooked the world's longest baguette on Sunday at 140.53 meters, which is 461 feet, reclaiming a record for one of the nation's best-known emblems taken by Italy for 5 years.
Sometimes size indeed matters. As the rounded heel of their over 140-meter baguette slid out, a dozen bakers and their supporters breathed a sigh of relief. This was no half-baked idea. They'd done it. Starting at 3 in the morning, the French bakers managed to produce the world's longest baguette. And with it, they were able to reclaim for France the Guinness World Record title.
More rules must be met than just the measurement. The hygiene laws must be abided by locally. The ingredients must be traditional ingredients used, as well as the traditional cooking method for making a baguette. Finally, it must be one continuous piece with no breakages.
Since 2019, it's Italy that held the previous title, after a team in Cuomo broke the record with a 132-meter baguette. And that would not do for these French bakers. The emblematic baguette is a source of national pride, as around 320 are sold every second in France. So the French bakers rose to the challenge. They used a bespoke oven for the extra long, gooey but crusty, thin bread. Sticking it to the competition, the baguette finally measured exactly 140.53 meters, or 461 feet. Throughout the day, the fear was that it would split into 2 pieces.
We had scares throughout. We had to watch the baguette all the way, whether during the rise in the oven or during the fall.
With a minimum width of 5 centimeters and a crackling crust, the baguette, which has had a UNESCO World Heritage status since 2022, was sliced up. Some was given to charity, and the rest, slathered with chocolate spread, was served to a very happy public.
That's how we wrap up our international news. Let's go for a net break. Return shortly.
Will artificial intelligence take your job? The revolutionary technology can increase productivity, boost economic growth, and lift incomes. But it may also threaten employment and widen inequality. The likely effects of AI on the global economy, as well as our lives and livelihoods, are cause for both excitement and concern. Let's start with how it's reshaping work. IMF research shows that almost 40% of jobs worldwide could be affected by AI. In advanced economies, the share rises to 60%, posing both opportunities and risks. In some scenarios, jobs may evolve, even vanish, as AI takes on tasks traditionally performed by humans. For example, AI-powered chatbots and virtual assistants can already handle many customer service inquiries. The bright side is that AI can also complement worker skills, enhancing productivity and opening up new opportunities. AI-powered algorithms can analyze medical images with precision, assisting doctors in making quicker, more accurate diagnoses. New jobs and even new industries may also arise. In most emerging markets and low-income countries, there is a smaller share of high-skilled jobs than in advanced economies. So they will likely be less affected and will face fewer immediate disruptions from AI. At the same time, many of these countries don't have the infrastructure or skilled workforces needed to harness the benefits of AI. This could worsen inequality among nations. AI could also affect income and wealth inequality within countries. Workers who can harness AI may see pay gains or greater productivity, while those who can't may fall behind. Younger workers may find it easier to exploit opportunities, while older workers could struggle to adapt. In most scenarios, AI will likely worsen overall inequality, a troubling trend that policymakers must prevent. The key question then is, how can we ensure that these rapid gains in AI benefit everyone? To help countries craft the right policies, the IMF has developed an AI Preparedness Index that measures readiness in areas like digital infrastructure, human capital and labor market policies, innovation, and regulation. It shows that wealthier economies like Singapore, the US, and Denmark tend to be better equipped for AI adoption than low-income countries. Advanced economies should expand social safety nets, invest in training workers, and prioritize AI innovation and integration. They also need to strengthen regulation to protect people from excessive risks and abuses and build trust in these technologies. Emerging markets and developing economies should lay a strong foundation by investing in digital infrastructure and digital training for workers. Together, we can navigate this revolution with foresight and humanity, ensuring a prosperous, inclusive future for generations to come.
Sivulela lo mhla ehlelweni besivedele ukuthi sidabe sikhulumisana nalabasuka etiko laka Labor and Social Security. Itiko ke limemedele ukuthi kunama scholarships leliwa vulile for ama students lafise ku applyela emanyuvesi akuleli kanye nemanyuvesi lase sifundzeni isaka Sadak. Sengivele nginaye lapha Ncobile Dlamini kuva nje ukuthi ingavele mhlambe kuhamba kanjani ku apply kwama students nedinkinga nje lebahlangabetana nato ekuaddressa leto dinge ukuthi tilungiseka kanjani, and also kuva ukuthi ingabe i-deadline yeku-applya ingabe inini. Ngikhosi sikuvusela siyabonga ukuthi benathi lo mhla ekseni. Sibonga futhi ukuthi nilitiko senivele nivulile ukuthi bafunzi bakhona uku-applyela wona lama scholarships, kumbe nje kusiniketa sithomile ukuthi vele mangakho lama scholarships lavuliwe nokuthi ngimaphi vele kahle kahle lama universities lekumele ukuthi bafunzi ba-apply.
Okay, ngiyabonga kakhulu umsakati, ngivusele na kuso sonke sive emakhaya ekseni njengoba sekashito umsakati mina ngincobile ngakaDlamini ngisuka etiko laka Labor lapho khona sibuke khona ema scholarships ebantwana lebafundzako locally na outside. Kusho ukuthi ke nyalo sivulile nje ema scholarships labantwana labafuna kutofundza locally na ku Sadak region. Kusho ukuthi nje ku Sadak region cinema countries la selected. We have University of Botswana, we have University of I think two universities in Botswana, Botswana, and then we have Zimbabwe. We have two universities as well, University of Zimbabwe, and then we have a university. No, it's not a university; it's a college, forestry college, and then we have University of Lesotho. And then we have other universities, University of Nairobi in Kenya, labo leba interested sifakile nayo, and we also have Tanzania as well, sifakile nayo nabo leba interested. And then ngawusho ukuthi sivulile since mhla 3 May, we are looking at ukuthi sivale mhla 31st May. And then locally we have universities la khona lebanga applyela ku bamphale ba applyela ku lebanga faka ticelo ta ama scholarships. We have University of Eswatini, we have Limpopo University, we have Christian University, we have Boto University, and then we have colleges lesinawo ke bo Good Shepherd Nursing College, we have bo Ecot, we have William Picture College, we have Ngwane College, we have Emergency Training College, we have then we have Ikonalea Royal Science and Technology Park, ACIT, we call it ACIT. I think it's then we have Evoc team as well. But ke lawa ma universities lengwashitiwe nama colleges, we have a list of my priority list la kunama programs khona nalama universities and colleges. So we encourage my students ukuthi angene ku Facebook page yethu ka Ministry of Labour, and noma bangazivakashela ema-ofisini, we give them assistance.
Okay.
Yes.
So ngiyakuva nje Nkosi yawalista onke lama colleges and universities. Tikhala ngabe tinganani vele, and also to find out lokho ukuthi kunama students la apply last year nalabanye labase ku year 1 already. Bayakhona ni apply again nga 2024.
Yes, angibonge kakhulu kulo mbuto wakho. Yes, we have ndawuthini tikhala le ngidawuthi 3.550 letikhona letivulekile for my students ukuthi banga apply, and siyanotha lokuthi kunema students especially from the University of Eswatini lebanema acceptance letters from last year. Unfortunately bangakhoni ukucala kufunza. Singasho ukuthi labo bantwana labo sicela ukuthi baphindze bacelele phansi bafake ama applications abo kabusha, sitobuketa leticelo tabo, and then sisho lokho ukuthi nalabo lokhanze ukuthi already sebaqalile baka first year bayafunza noma ka second year, because bakhona nabo labo siyaba encourage ukuthi nabo abaphinze phela abafake leticelo tabo. Sidawusho lokuthi nje umfana mangabe ufuna kufaka isicelo sakhe, because we do it online now, sekude ukuthi bagcwalise ama forms. We have an online application labangena khona bafake their application. Singasho nje ukuthi labatadzinga edvutane nabo kufuneka ukuthi babe nalama results abo aka form 5. Labo ke lokhanze sebandile ke lo first year or second year bangawafaka lawa ka tertiary, but vele sigcila kakhulu kulawa aka form 5 ema results, babe nale acceptance letter yabo. That is very, very important ukuze ukuthi sikhona ukuthi lesicelo sabo sibuketwe, ne-ID yabo ibe seceleni, nemniningwane yebatali, which is vamise kutholakala mhlambe ku birth certificate, ibe sedvutane nabo maba sebathi bafuna kuqala application online.
Yeah, ukhuluma kancane nje ngelist ukuthi the list of programs that are sponsored by government ikhona. Ngabe mhlambe bayichecka ku website yenu noma mhlambe kumele ukuthi bayele kulama universities nama colleges kuchecka ukuthi ngimaphi ama programs uhulumende lawo sponsor shako?
Okay, kusho ukuthi in most cases thina sinayo le priority list. Iyatholakala page lethu la ka Facebook Ministry of Labour, iyatholakala na ku government website, nase tiko ikhona mangabe nje umfana mhlawumbe ukhonele ukuthi hayi ngidawufika mina physically ngitoyicela, siyamniketa, singamniketa soft copy ne hard copy siyamniketa. Etikolweni ke usually bayaba guide ukuthi these are the programs hulumende lawa sponsorishako, lawa akawa sponsorishi. But in most cases ukhanze ukuthi kulama universities and colleges lese ngiwabalile nje lama programs, most of them but not all of them. Ngicela kusho ukuthi ngikhohlwe iSAN university, ngicela ukuxolisa kakhulu ngikhohliwe leyo, ngicela kuyibala nayo hulumende uyayisponsorisha. Okusho ukuthi lama universities ayaba guide ukuthi nankhala ma programs hulumende lawa sponsorisha, but they were always there kuba guide nathi.
Okay, kuma kokugcina nje kugcizelela mhlambe ngema deadline nama processes lekumele bawalandzele in terms of loku apply online, lokuthi vele yini kumele ukuthi bayilandzele kahle ukuthi application yabo itaba successful.
Okay, ngiyabonga kakhulu. Kusho ukuthi I deadline yethu besibuke ukuthi itawuba nge-31st May. So singaba encourage nje vele bafundi labo lese bawatholile ama acceptance letters ukuthi bazame kungena kule website yethu ba apply, and uma ngabe baba netinkinga ngidawubekisa labanye ukhanze ukuthi utawuthi kimi uyatila nanginenkinga ngimangise ngifake ID yami kuyayala so ukhanze ukuthi ekhasini letiningi umfana utele from the year 2000 awutawuthi ufaka le ID yakhe ingafuni lokungena so in most of the times sithi okay sicela omit 0 and then usicala mangabe nje ID yakhe ithi 02 aqale ngalo 2 so sicela lokuba khuthata lokuthi bangatfuki lokuthi mhlawumbe sekunenkinga ngile system yethu khanze ukuthi ayiba ready labo lamanye ama IDs la from the year 2000 so lokunye lengakusho ukuthi nje umfana sicela ukuthi abe nale njengoba ngishilo ukuthi acceptance letter yakhe ibe sedvudane maka apply in most cases ayiselikhulu le system it is very easy because lama ungena nje kule page kuyachazela ukuthi this is what you are going to need kunema instructions angisho kanjalo so but ukhanze ukuthi lomnye bese soba netinkinga leti thide siyaba encourage ukuthi bangasishayela enombolweni yethu yelicingo noma bavele kithi lomnye sesivele vela lenkinga idinga ukuthi ute sitokusita with your application.
Okay, thank you so much. Nosibonga kakhulu Ncobile Mbukeliso ukuthi vele na umfundisi lofiseke ku-applyela kulama scholarships tikhala dincane kakhulu over 3,500 so and siqiniseke ukuthi apply before the 31st of May 2024. Let's take a break nasibuya sitabe sikhuluma kabanti nge-male circumcision.
Kude lesinye isikhathi ngaphandle kwalesi
aba research bafunze
being risky it means ukuthi nalokuwa kwayo kulula
nathi kufuna sende ukukhicita lokusembili
Renewal of TV licenses for 2024 is now open. Here is a quick reminder. A viewer's TV license costs 180 emalangeni per device. Other accessories such as decoders and set-top box cost 50 emalangeni per device. For traders and repairers, TV license costs 300 emalangeni per business area. And now, to pay your TV license, use these following methods. You can use MTN Mobile Money with the number 76222000 or dial *007 *3 *7#. Or you can use Eswatini Imali. You can pay our TV license at any post office in the country. Another option is you can use any NetBank branch using our TV license account number 119900430037. Don't forget, when paying for your viewer's TV license, reference with your PIN at all times. And when paying for a retailer TV license, reference with your TIN at all times. For more information, call us on 7802-4543 or 34050163 or 34020879. And you can send us a WhatsApp message on 762222000.
Welcome back. Sakuvusela nalo sanza kwesivulela sibanga ukuthi solo nihlalisene nathi lo mhla ekseni sola siyachubeka nje ngetekati indzaba tetempilo sibuketa kakhulu luhlelo nje lwasukunyiswa nguhulumende ngeminyaka wa 2008 lokusoka bantfana noma ke bafana labaneminyaka lesuka ku 15 ku 24 kusama nje ukunciphisa linani noma ke lizinga lekuthelelana kweligciwane HIV. Sifuna kuva ke ukuthi ingabe lo msebenzi loyo uhamba kanjani. Tiko letempilo kwelibambisene nenhlangano lebitwa ngekuthi iJaphaygo kuchuba lo msebenzi solo liyachubeka ke nekusoka bona abantu fana sona overthinking letikhona la letibhekana nabo bafana basasoka nokuthi njengoba vele mhlambe ke lisebenzela ilitiko ukuthi bafana basoke. I'm joined by Londiwe Dlamini losoka khona kiyo lenhlangano usinetha nje sithombe ukuthi basebenzele kanjani kuyo yonke leminyaka lemingaka sikuvusele sabona ukuthi benathi inkosi sifuna ukuvela ukuthi ngabe iprogress ihamba kanjani siyakumela ukuthi uhulumende abebeke ukuthi naka usukumiswa lomsebenzi bekata usoka bafana labangentulo ko 140,000 ingabe nasibuka nje lethu inombolo senikhona ukusoka bafana labangaki even.
Siyabonga kakhulu sibingelele babukeli bemsakado iEswatini TV. Sibavusele nje sichamuka kuyo inhlangano yakaJaphaygo lesebenza nahulumende. Umsebenzi waJaphaygo kusekela uhulumende ukuthi achubele inhlelo tekusoka of which thina singuJaphaygo asisiye uhulumende kodwa sisebenza naye uhulumende kumesekela kude ukuthi akhone ukuthi letinhlelo atichube. Lesikwenda ke singuJaphaygo thina senisibuketa kona ukuthi uhulumende lo hlelo vele ulichuba kahle yini in terms of ukuthi nasikhuluma ngokuthi le service le deliver kule sive is it a quality service yini. So lesikwenda kwesingiJaphaygo siyamsekela uhulumende ukuthi sende siqiniseke ukuthi bantu bayaqeqesheka akusoki nje noma ngabe ngibani kusoka umuntu lokhonile ukuthi afunde ukuthi kusoka kanjani. SingiJaphaygo sikhonile ukuthi sibe kube khona lesibaqeqeshako lesibatrainako yati ukuthi uma kuqala lihlelo lwekusoka bekusoka bodokotela. So lokusoka kwabodokotela siyati ukuthi linani labodokotela lincane eSwatini. So naleli lincane ukhanza ukuthi bayahlala bameselo bamele ukuthi mane akuze azafike edokotela kodwa singiJaphaygo sabona ukuthi uhulumende ufuna ukuthi anyuse inombolo debavu njengoba sowushido ukuthi there was an estimation ukuthi about 240 babese basokile nyalo ke kuleti inhlelo lesitendile siyasekela uhulumende kuto sekuqeqesha abonesi sikhonile ukuthi inombolo debantu labasokile labathu na eSwatini dikhule tibe over 175,000 lokusho ukuthi inombolo debantu lasebasokile eSwatini setikhulile impela kakhulu losho ukuthi sive semaswati siyasinxusa ukuthi naso sijoyine ungadusala wetfana ucabanga ukuthi nibane ngani sikobanenge lesenisele joyina nawe nalilinyenti leselitisitile lancoba iHIV ngekuthi lisuse isifo skin yabo basuse lijwabu labo. So about over 775,000 sebasokile even la kangwane nekusitwa ngiwenhlangano yakaJaphaygo nanayo ke angiJaphaygo angakatimeli nje naye asekelwa maAmerica sati ukuthi sikhwama siphethe excuse me siyatikwe ukuthi konke lesikwendako sisingatha imali so imali letikhona ukuthi tisekela lo msebenzi wekusoka eSwatini kwanyalo desaqhamuka kuma Americans kaPepfa so Japhaygo nguyena lo khona ukuthi ke asekele letinhlela kusebenzisa leto imali letiqhamuka enhlanganweni yakaPepfa otherwise emaswati ayasoka futhi siyabonga siya appreciate kakhulu kuwe emaswatini ikakhulu bobabe and because lokwendwabo babe akusiti bona bodvana ngoba lo munye uyabuke ukuthi ndako soka kuta ubenefita mina akubenefiti babe yedvana even namake naye uyakhona kubenefita ngokuthi sewusokile babe benefita ngetindlela letinenge letifaka ekhathi kuvikela ukuthi baba ngamtheleli imdlavuza wemlomo wesibeletho ukuthi angabi namdlavuza wemlomo wesibeletho so lama chances ukuthi abe nawo lema risk kuyawa reduce kakhulu lokucircumcise so siyabonga nje kakhulu kubobabe nala ungasengakasoke siyanicela ukuthi akasukume ajoine na 175,000 over 175,000 losasokile.
Yeah. Siselapho nje endzabeni the risks I think ngike ngabona nje WHO wakhuluma ngayo indzaba yecircumcision ukuthi uyawa reduce vele ama risks ukuthi wesilisa abathelelana newesifazane iHIV ingabe niyakubona imvelo lokho kwenteka uma bekenteka ingabe mathuba anganani vele ukuthi ile risk reduce.
Lengikuthanda ngaka health ukuthi yonke info leyendiwako based on ema studies akusho nje ukuthi just a trial and error or something but yonke info leyendiwako ka health based on ema studies la khona so ema studies la khona kuthiwa kakhanzakala ukuthi bantu kwaqale kwabuketwa na issue ya ukuthi nawubuka lamave la practice kusoka as a culture ukhanza ukuthi those nations bona i-incidence ye-HIV is so low but kwabukeka ke then the countries lawa khona langasoki nje le kungasiyi culture yabo ukuthi naseka ukuthi ahamba yosoka asesemncane kwakhanzakala ukuthi the rate ye-HIV iletulu khona then kwase sekuyabuketwa sekwentiwa study kwentiwa khona nje lesinye lesendiwa eSouthern Africa lesendiwa Orange Farm eSouth Africa kwabuketwa kona ukuthi lokusoka kusitaphi then kuleso study kwabonakala ukuthi and so many other studies that were conducted but I'm just quoting nas lesendeke la Southern Africa ngoba sona sithutane nathi la South Africa sithutane nathi so kwakhanzala kwala ukuthi lama i-HIV prevention kumuntu wesilisa kuwesifazane kuba ma chances ukuthi angayithola le HIV kuba nge-60% ufeka ukuthi ulokusho ukuthi ekhulwini u-60% i-protection ye-HIV from ukuthi ungamthelela the other partner ikakhulu ngala kunangabe kungilomduna ahlangana newesifazane lapho khona ke ngilama studies lawo laqhamuka sekasitshela ukuthi nakasokile 60% chances of which lo nawubuka ukuthi asetulu kakhulu so le risk ibaye ukuthi uthole i-HIV iyancipha kakhulu uma ngabe usokile that's why si advocate for i-circumcision ngaloko ukuthi futhi i-circumcision uyenda once and then you are done kude ukuthi kusafuna phinde futhi ubuyele noma kusafuna hayi kumele nginathe amaphilisi ngidawukhohlwa but then with i-circumcision you just do it once and then you are done and le protection ye life lelo yentile and it's not just for you only as a male but then it's also for the other partner to protect to prevent and also it doesn't just help you as a male also as a nation kuyasida ku reduce lama issues e-incidence ye-HIV
siselapho nje kuma studies le ndiwa litiko ibambisene mhlawumbe na-18 inhlangano ikhona mhlawumbe evidence levetako ukuthi ivele i-circumcision iyakhona ukuthi ivikele umuntu wesilisa ukuthi athole ama sexually transmitted diseases ma STIs ingabe kukhona mhlawumbe evidence lekutshengisa lokho iyavikela imvelo
iyavikela i-circumcision although not onke khona lewavikelako then kukhona lengawavikeli asengibekise njengekuthi iboma ema issues asengithinda ukubheka ngeSwati ngithi mhlawumbe tilonza bocunsula betilonza kuyakhona ukuthi umuntu lomdvuna angabi nato letilonza la kule ndvuku yakhe kule foreskin yakhe ngoba tivama kuba la kule foreskin so naka isusile vele lama chances abo HIV abo STI ayancipha not tona todvana naletinye nje letifaka ekhathi labanye bocunsula but hayi bonke not bonke but khona lavikelako so of which i-circumcision isitakulokuningi singabuki in terms of excuse me in terms of HIV kuphela sibuke HIV sibuke STI protection sibuke njengoba ngishide ukuthi emathuba abo cervical cancer now ayancipha sibuke ema issues of bo hygiene ngokuthi even hygiene yakho nje ungesilisa labanye kude lo bafundisako ukuthi kuze ukuthi ugeze kahle uyimale kufuna ukuthi uvule elijwabu lakho ugeze so ukhanda ukuthi lo munye akakwendi lokho noma labanye basesebancane so hygienically kuyakusita ukuthi uhlale uclean ungibabe uma ngabe usokile maningi lama benefits la khona than lama risk lesingathi mhlambe siyawacabanga la baye mhlambe bantu besilisa bawesabe esikhathini lesinengi so lama benefits ayayi outweigh mbamba le risk lekhona
yes bonje lama risk I think labanye basoloba ukuthi bayesaba mhlambe bevete indzaba letithite ukuthi ugcine mhlawumbe sekunjani njani performance yakho ayisafani ingabe vela athini lamaqiniso nemanga kulelo hlangothi lokuthi uyachubeka nje performe kahle njengomuntu losilisa kuphola nini procedure lesasa isikhathi esinganani nje mhlambe ku corrector onke nje lama myths lawo
okay liqiniso lithi kusoka kuyi procedure noma angithi kuyinvo lentiwa bamla baceceshekile nangithi labaceceshekile njengoba ngishide ukuthi singijaphayigo sithuthukise elihlelo lekusoka kangangoba kusokwa lokujuba loljwabu bekwentiwa bodokotela but nyalo sa train bonesi sebaningi kakhulu abonesi labasoka kodana abodokotela bebasoka ka10 because of lama trainings leswa conducted excuse me, of which le yendiwa ngumuntu le training 2 uyendele enzaweni le clean like ku Eswatini kuba ne theater nje yekusoka of which le ndawo leyo iba sterile kunekuthiwa ku observer sterility so konke lokhu ke kuya consider ukuthi lama risk ayehla aba very very low. Phindze futhi sibuke ukuthi yendelwe enzaweni le safe, it's a hospital setting usually la siyendela khona thina ima circumcisions ethu. So nawubuka konke lokho kwekuthi kuyakhona lokuthi lama risk la khona mhlambe la ngaba khona kuyawa reduce ekwekuthi umuntu atikhanze seka mhlambe sekukhona lokungahambi kahle ngalokho uqindiwe abantu labacecishekile enzaweni le kahle le clean usebasebenzisa ama instruments la kahle la bojoliwe konke kukahle. So lokwendeka ukuthi nasisoka you just come for circumcision 20 minutes you are done. 20 minutes you are done, like literally 20 minutes your foreskin is just out and isukile nje kuwe within 20 minutes. And then kufuneka kukwende ukuthi kufuna ubuye then sitokhona ngoba bese siyakubhandisha sitokhona ukuthi susa elibhandishi sigeze silonza sisibone ukuthi uphola kahle yini right, that is after 2 days of circumcising. And then bese bo 7 days sesiyakushayela nje noma ungashaya usho ukuthi silonza sakho siphola kanjani. And then we bese emva kwa 6 weeks usuke sowuphole lapho kuphola 6 weeks, takes 6 weeks for ukuthi siphole completely so ungakhona ke futhi ukuthi ubuyele uyodlalisa partner wakho after those 6 weeks. So of which just it's a matter of kubeketela nje mavikana nje lambalwa ukuthi ngamthinti ayinadimbi yatifiki nakimbe zetinkulu just 6 wemaviki nje uthi no aseng abstain from sex nake na health yami ngalokuthi lemvo ngiyenda once just abstinence ya 6 weeks le ya once emva kwaloko you will just enjoy yourself for a lifetime. Of which funa sibuke ukuthi la ka circumcision labanye most people you can't ukuthi bathi basababo pain kubhlungu kusoka kubhlungu no kusoka lengathi kubhlungu kona mhlambe ngilokujova nakhona lokujova the purpose ya lokujova sisuke sikujova ngemjovo lothinzibalisa bhlungu lo wenda ukuthi ungabuva bhlungu nasoka of which ngeke size sikusoke ngathi sistemahlathini bakusoka vele ngendlela leta ukwenda ukuthi nawe ube comfortable like sitaw kujova sijovela ukuthi ungeva bhlungu nasesijuba loljwabu when we do the actual procedure. Then nasesijovile siyahlola ukuthi vele lo bhlungu abukho yini nangabe vele sokuthi okay angisabuva bhlungu senikhanike sicala siyasoka loku saba ipain angeke uzoyive na usoka lokuyaye kungihlekise ukuthi lalabathi basaba ipain ngalabangakaze baze ba experience nokuthi kusoka kanjani kahle because kuze basaba imvo labangayadi. And if babuta la sebasokile they will tell you ukuthi no ngeva bhlungu nje nabasangijova emva kwaloko angivanga lutho but then lalabasabako lalabangazanga ke sebasoka of which circumcision yes ipain itawuba khona mhlambe nasijova but then akunananayo ayisiyo lengakanani phinde futhi sikunikete namaphilisi ebhlungu ukuthi naso uhamba uye ekhaya nangabe kwendeka uva bhlungu unathe amaphilisi uba nayo amaphilisi ebhlungu la khona ukuthi akusithi phinze futhi ke asikuyekelele siyakuniketa nenombolo yethu longayishayela tfolambilo lehlukahlukene longayishayela usho ukuthi nangabe khona inkinga losodibana nato noma kusekona ukuthi sengibona lobhlungu ubhike ukuthi okay nati inkinga tami lenginato mhlambe lengingakusho lokunye ukuthi indzawo tekusoka tikhona even lonke la kangwane atikho mhlambe ukuthi tisenzaweni yinye noma kanjani tikhona kahoho nje sinema facilities evulama sithathu
sesine 3 seconds
yes makavoho sinema facilities lamathathu then kamanzini sina 5 wema facilities mhlambe nginqa isikhathi ngiwasha ngwaliste onke then naseshiselweni phindze futhi sinawo naselibonje nakhona ema facilities efekusoka bangashayela nje nombolo ethi 2030 balaleli babute ngetindzaba tekusoka siyasoka even la ngeminyaka ngwane futhi baningi labasoka kushe.
Okay, ngiyafakala sifuna kakhulu Nkosi. So siniketile isiqiniseko sowaniketile ema-ports noma ke besilisa isiqiniseko sokuthi le pain ikhona yona but ke it is worth it njengoba vetile umlayini lapha ukuthi iyakhona ukuvikela itifeni sexually transmitted diseases nga 60%. So make the right choice usoke. The second big star best of hlelo.
Ujala masada mahle kunathi lesa.
Sabatandi ukuthi njengalokhu
Sivile sive sikhulume.
Yeah, we have come to the end of our program today. We hope you enjoyed and learned from all the insightful conversations that we had on the show today. We want to valelisa you now and say enjoy the rest of your day. We'll see you later on the day on other programs. Do stay tuned to Eswatini TV. And make sure to rewatch this program if you just joined us on our YouTube page, Eswatini TV. Have a good day. Bye-bye.